Hello everybody, welcome to SketchCraft Live. I'm Rob Duenas, and joining me tonight is Brandon, Mega Potato, Lead Heavy, whatever, Kingpin looking James. How you doing?
Yay!
Brandon looking more like Kingpin every day, I might add. He's growing into that role. It's amazing. So, why am I picking on Brandon today? Let me move this on over. Basically, one of our loyal listeners has been following all of the videos and unfortunately been listening to me. And then they're like, can I get some feedback on this Bucky O'Hare piece they're doing? Now, this is not my art. This is one of our listeners' arts. I cannot remember their names. For the life of me, let's just call him Dominic. So Dominic, this is Dominic's art. He'd like some advice. It's at the roughy stage. So I thought we would do this. First thing I'm going to do is, this is a JPEG that he sent me. I'm going to hit Control Y and see what this is going to look like in CMYK. And you can kind of already see we're getting some hazing going on there, so which is going to happen. Going to get a little bit less contrasty. If you want to know what that is, that's my print settings. There's an art to video, whatever. So, and then let me look at this. So, Brandon, when you catch up to the stream, see if you can tell me. Can you see it?
Mhm.
All right. What's your first impression?
I like the energy.
Hard to see Bucky.
It's a little dark.
Hard to see. Hard to see Bucky.
I don't know what is Bucky the one in the middle with the red. Yeah, he's got okay. Yeah, it's a little. I mean, it's a lot going on, but I like the energy. But it is hard to see the main character.
Yeah. So in a typical art department scenario, this would be like an idea you hand off to the art director, and the art director would come back and go, "Well, I see what you're trying to do. You know, you got a nice big shot where they're kind of like fighting here, and they got some cool foreground elements going on." But as it stands right now, it kind of doesn't have focus. It's kind of all over the place. There's a lot of glows going on here. You got like a blue scheme here. You got like a pink scheme here. Based off the characters, I get that. And some reds up in the front. You got Bucky shooting red. But right here is a big dark spot. Now, I'm going to be able to show you why that is. So if we fill the layer with black, we're going to create a new layer, fill it with black, and turn it to color. And when we do that, we're going to be able to neutralize the whole piece. And you can see that there's no light in the center of the image. It's completely dark. Let me go ahead and fill it in with black again. I'm going to hit darken and just try to, I'm going to set that to pin light. If we can try that pin light, I'll try pin light, which will only fill in the white areas. Kind of, let me get to a neutral 50% gray. See if we can. 0. Okay, alrighty. Thank you, Photoshop, for doing absolutely nothing. Nothing! Alright, there we go. There we go, darker color. We can tone some of those whites down a little bit. And even if I just tone some of the glows down, just from a value perspective, we can see already like we're starting to see the center a little bit better. So what we're just going to talk about here is just basic lighting. Basic lighting. First things first. So let's just go ahead and I'm going to quickly use the lasso tool. I'm going to separate this by foreground, middle ground, and background. Let's assume these elements here are in the foreground. We're going to fill those with near black, right? Let's say it's 60% black. Matter of fact, let's go to, this is 70%. 70% black. And already we got some depth. If you kind of look at it.
Right.
You can kind of come right here and just kind of edge that idea out. Cut around the hands. Now already we got some depth. Now let's just say this right here is the middle ground. So let's just find the background characters, which I'm going to put at everything behind Bucky would be sort of background. Right? I'm going to fill that with white. Then I'm just going to turn that opacity a little bit to like maybe 20%. Maybe try like a soft light. That's a little contrasty. Try an overlay. No, not enough. Try a screen.
And this is kind of how it would go in an art department, where you would hand it to your art director, and he would
What
kind of.
he's trying to do is figure out what I'm trying to accomplish. He's not trying to say, here's how I would draw it. I would be very wary, folks, of when you ask an artist for help, they immediately start going, well, here's what I would do. And they just start drawing over your piece, right, until they turn it into something.
That's not your art.
It's clearly it's just something they are like, that's really good. Now you go take this. And then you walk away confused, and you don't know what they just did. You have no idea how to replicate it next time. You're sort of perpetually stuck drawing their stuff. I mean, so you're perpetually stuck going back to people for help and never actually being able to accomplish this yourself. So what I'm actually going to do first is lighten up the middle. I thought I could just jump to the background, but that's not going to work out. So, and I've learned this by watching this. I've watched it, and I've had it happen to me about a couple million times, And I'm like, look, if I don't understand what's going on, then I'm just going to keep fucking up over and over again.
Right.
So you really want people to like be able to say, hey, here's what you're trying to accomplish, and here's how you can actually get there. Put this behind. And we'll invert that a little bit. See if I can't. This is a really kind of a poor man's fix. Just 30. Yeah, it's not really working. Okay, I'm gonna have to do this the fucking hard way. So, I was hoping I could just quickly. What I need to do is
Ask
illuminate. Huh? Ask people for. You don't know. You don't always get it. Actually, a lot of times I have art directors that don't even want to see your layered file. They just send them a snap and then they'll fix it. So I don't really need a PSD. What I need is to be able to just come in here and just manually airbrush. I thought I could. And I'm going to come here and just try to underlight people. Soft light. And just try to, basically what I'm going to try to do is create like a focal point around Bucky. And then underlight these characters. So what you can do is start to say, okay, color dodge, and then turn that down a little bit. Nope. Don't worry about what layers I'm using to do this. We'll get into the mindset behind this process. So, in a minute.
Does this also help to give it like kind of a mood lighting?
No, moon lighting?
Mood.
Thank you.
I said mood.
You said moon.
No.
You said moon.
Sorry, I will pronunciate myself better for the recording.
Thank you. Thank you, Potato Mouth.
Mood lighting.
Yes and no. I mean, what I'm really trying to do, I mean, look, there's a bunch of his glows and stuff in between, so you're seeing a lot of chicken scratch, and I'm used to seeing into it, so I know what I'm looking at.
Mm-hmm.
When I'm really, the goal here is to essentially try to create.
Focus.
Yeah, you're just throwing glows. Like glows, you can't just throw glows on a piece everywhere and expect like, oh, that's it. They're lit. You know, like this little frog dude would be sort of rim lit here, and then you can even come in here and like right behind him and backlight a little bit. See how that pops out?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, his colors aren't really. So what you really want to do, Dominique, is you really want to get kind of turn off all your. First off, let me set this normal. You want to come in, and first thing you want to do is turn off all your scribbles, so you're not seeing into all those scribbles on your Ruffy. I'd get rid of all the scribbles first. Then I would take all these glows and turn them off, because you have multiple light sources come from multiple places and there's no focus. All the light sources need to come off. And then what I would do is say, okay, these guys are in the foreground, these guys are in the middle, these guys are in the back, and this is going to be like dark. This is going to be around, don't go 50%, go 60% or 40%. A little bit over, a little bit under. And then these guys are going to be lighter. They're going to fall back into darkness. And then they're going to be backlit by like a space background or something. And that black, they're not going to be black. They're probably going to be like a purple, blue, or whatever color of the space you got going on. Right now, that's a whole value issue. I mean, a hue issue. Like your color scheme's it's a little black on burnt colors. Doesn't really adhere to like a color scheme. We'll talk about that in a second. But if I come here with the airbrush and I just quickly backlight some of these characters, right? Like, man, it's hard to see into those Bucky characters. This is why I spent a lot of time on my roughies. And I know it may look like well, Rob, you got a lot of glows. I'm like, yeah, but I tie it around like a very tight color scheme. Like if you look at the X-Men piece, that's, purple and blue with like yellow. So purple and blue for the background, and then like the Age of Apocalypse is red and green, like a teal green. So those are very specific. Yeah, you need to come here and be able to pop Bucky out. I'm still in like Copic coloring mode, so my Photoshop skills right now are a little. It's gonna take like 20 minutes to be like, oh yeah, oh yeah. I've been like coloring the shit out of everything traditionally. So let me go to my gradient maps. Let's just come over here and let me see if I can't find something spacey. Not really. Let's pick that. So you can see here, just with the basic gradient map, now you can kind of see Bucky more.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Like I'm sort of omitting his. It's easier when I start to, because this doesn't have a black as this gradient map doesn't have a black as a black. It has a dark blue purple, so I'm able to kind of push some of these things back here while still maintaining color. Does that make any sense?
A little bit. Kind of like the push and pull effect that you show me, where you kind of push some of the stuff back to pop out the color in the front. So like, is that the same
Right.
kind of thing?
Something like that. So let's go here, create a second gradient map. Because I just want to be able to illustrate it for people that are kind of like new to this stuff, like how to look at it. Um, that looks pretty. No, no. There we go. We'll pick that. Reverse. Hue. So I'm going to come here and try to create some kind of actual background. And then what I could do is take that background color and at 50% kind of come here and so these characters in the background will get pulled more into the color of the background. And then Bucky would end up being like a core color scheme. Does that make any sense? Like if he ends up being uh, let's say his laser blast is green, so he's being illuminated into the darkness by green.
Mm-hmm.
These people back here, the further back they go, are going to be more illuminated by whatever's going on in the background. In this case, I'm using space as an example. And then I could create a contrast situation in the front. Let's say there's red laser. He had red laser beams in the front, I believe. So we could come here. And say, if you wanted to push that background element forward or pop it out, you could use a warmer color to eventually do that. Like if Bucky's thing is like his laser blast is more of a red. Oh, that's why. Because I got a fucking white in there. Like, why is that still white? That's why. There we go. So first off, you have a value problem. You need to bring the center of focus around Bucky, illuminate from him there, make these characters a little bit more darker from a value here, make these a little bit more tied into the background. The background doesn't have to be pure black. It could be a neutral color. It could be neutral black to white. It's hard to do that now because you got all these glows, which in value turn into like a white. So when I say I'm trying to show people, hey, let me turn this background this color here from a value perspective, it's hard to do that based on what you currently got going on. So I would in a sense to be able to really do that. Yeah, probably need more of a layered file just so I can turn all that shit off. So you need to get rid of all of those. Bring them more of a center of focus, and then you can start to think about once the basic lighting is there. You'd only rim things where there's light sources. Maybe like the edges of the guns would illuminate them. They'd be a little darker in the center. Fade out to the color of the background towards the back, and then you can work on an actual color scheme that will benefit it. If it's in space, think about space and color. Look at the Hildebrand's artwork. Look at, right now you have this. This is like mustard with neutral gray. Like this, the characters are not at their best here. Also, Bucky, he's a little bit soupy green. He looks like he's camo green. I would pick something, a little bit more along the lines of like a colorful, 80s style color, like an animation coloration here. Also, make sure your cores of your laser blast actually are white. Right now, you've got this is crazy. So you've got the core of your lasers are red, and the outside are white. That makes no sense. The cores would be white, and the outsides would have color. They're all inverted. It's really strange.
So what Rob means is there's a better way to do it than the way.
Well, I look, Brandon. I'm not gonna say there's a better way to do it. What I'm saying is he's trying to create a piece where there's action and there's mood, and you can't see anybody. So the first thing you have to do is turn off all these crazy lightings and glows. Turn it all
Okay.
off. Those need to go away. Then
Right.
you need to say, where's the key light source coming from? Are they being lit from underneath? Are they on a
Uh-huh.
space battle? Are they under a spaceship and it's dark and they're being lit by the laser blast? Where is the light source?
Okay.
Where is the key fucking light source? Right
Right.
now, there is no light source. It's a big
Right.
clusterfuck.
It's coming from everywhere. Got it.
All right. I don't need your interpretations because you're just going to confuse people. So, and then once that's going on and you kind of work out a lighting scheme that, like this right here, isn't enough. What I've done right here, because it's hard to tell with the fucking glows and stuff. Once you figure out where the light source is, then you can say, okay, what's the temperature? What's the color of the environment? Is it green? Is it blue to purple? Find an actual color scheme. You can sample from Bucky the cartoon, the opening credits. There's probably spacings where it's like goes purple to blue, whatever. Find out what the environment color scheme is, and then figure out what the local color. So there's usually in the world you have two schemes. You have the world lighting, which would be sky, and then you have things that are bouncing off one another. Like in your room, Brandon, you probably have a light bulb, right? And it's
Yeah.
putting light on you while while you're being lit. So that's what I would. Then you can, I use gradient maps to kind of like block that shit in, so you can create some form of hue or tone to separate characters and create atmosphere. And feel free to use like gradients and stuff to be able to do that. But this is a nightmare. This is a nightmare scenario. Also, the Bucky O'Hare logo, tint that whatever the background is. Like I know the official logo is pink to purple with yellow. If you do that, you better have a purple to pink background scheme going on there. If you don't, no one's going to see your characters. They're just going to see that logo. You can recolor the logo to based on the lighting scheme of the piece. Geez, Brandon, you're quiet.
I was scolded last time I asked the question, so I just.
You didn't ask. You were like, "Oh, just I don't even know what you said."
Okay.
The question is, do you understand? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yep.
Oh, you're just saying, yeah. You don't actually understand anything. Do you understand about the core lighting?
Yes.
Oh, you don't. You're just saying that. I know you just say stuff because you want to end it.
Okay. Yes, I understand where you need core lighting. Otherwise, it just makes things look out of focus everywhere. If there's lighting bouncing off everywhere, it makes no sense. You need some form of lighting coming from the bottom or the top. The reason I asked my question earlier is because it seemed like you were just basically saying the picture was bad and you weren't really explaining more in depth. That's why I asked the question that I asked. So I wasn't trying to interpret it. I just wanted a more clear response from you about the lighting.
Yeah, right now it needs mood. It needs some form of mood lighting. You know,
Right. And I think
moon.
how you did it with these characters right here in the front to make them the main focus with the light come underlight them, and then the other guys at the top a little darker looks much better. Puts some more focus on the main character. Like I said, I think the art's good. I think just like you're saying, strip down all the glows and the effects and focus on core lighting, and it just makes it pop more. Because I like I said, I like the piece. There's a lot of cool action going on, a lot of nice art. It's just there was a lot of glows and lights and
Yeah, you can't
craziness.
fake lighting. You know what I mean? You can't go, okay, if I just add a bunch of rim lights and glows, then like that'll solve it for me. It's not actually going to cut it. Even basic animation, they'll gradiate, there'll be a basic color scheme for the characters, and then they'll sample the background and turn the characters those like they'll fill those characters up with that color and set the opacity down like 80% or 20%. They'll tint the characters to the world light, you know, and
Hmm.
then they'll probably darken the character and then crop out the sides so if they're rimlit. It's basic. It really comes down to like this basic lighting thing is something that I sat down a year or two ago and was like, you know what, man, like I'm tired of fucking faking it. You know, like I really need to like if I take Bucky and I sort of fill him.
Now, if you were designing this piece or it was in an art department, would you have the logo as big as it is, or would you make that smaller and make Bucky the character bigger since he's
Well, it
the
depends
main?
on the piece. The logo can tie in. The problem is right now the logo coloration. You know what I mean? Is not first off, I don't put logos on my piece. I did that Masters of the Universe one. I kind of drew it. Probably
Uh huh.
remove it and just draw over that shit. But if I did want to work the logo in, um, it needs to it needs to reflect the environment. Is what I'm trying to say. You know,
Hmm.
and yeah, he could shrink it down a little bit more just so this character, maybe pops out a little bit. And to be fair, he was like, "Hey man, can you help?" So like trying to help in a way where it's like, the steps to be able to solve this come down to basic lighting fundamentals.
Hmm.
And it's not a simple matter of like just, you know, fill this layer up, add some glows, do. Like you really want to spend a lot of time on the lighting, man. Like matter of fact, if you do that for like a good year, all your problems will be solved in a year. You know, they really will because effective lighting makes a big difference. Even if it's cell shaded, doesn't have to be all realistic. But it comes down to like it will pop out characters, it will help everything, create mood. All you're really trying to do is set a mood and a tone. You're trying to set an attitude. You want to invoke an emotion. And I think even that right there, from a value perspective, you can see like Bucky's a little in the shade, but what I would do is go through and have to shade all of them similarly. Like, but you can already see them better, you know, than you could before. And it's just a pile of scribbles, really. I mean, roughies are, they're piles of scribbles, but the one thing I try to turn off is as many of the little scribbles as I can and work in little blobs of color and try to build up the characters a little bit so I can see them. Um, that all being said, I can hear you now. I can hear myself talking. Thank you. And you want to think about where these lights are coming from. You know, like in this case, it could be his blaster. Boop doo doo. You know.
Hmm. So you could still have your main lighting, let's say underlit, but then if the blaster's shooting out a green, you could always put a little bit of
So,
like
if,
a green rim
and
light
if
on
this
his
is a
wrist.
blaster here, it'd actually be, you know, it'd have a core, and he'd be lit right here by whatever color that is. These guys here are going to be illuminated, like right here, a little bit by whatever that color is. And then this logo would be, you know, it's the lighting of the logo would be affected by that little blaster. So if I come here and just kind of go boom. And then back here could be world tinting. So if I want to add a little bit of white value into here, but this is when it gets to the color, that's going to be more of the color of the world. So he's being underlit. So I can, I mean, short of me coming in here and doing it myself the whole time. So you want to separate foreground, middle ground, background from a basic lighting perspective. Turn off all the glows first, light everything dark, and then in a mask, I like to fill it with black. In a mask, mask out the lighting sources, you know? And they all don't have to be like falling into a sharp black, by the way. They can be a little bit more neutral in the center and fall off. I'd really look up different painters. Take their paintings, things that resonate to you, things that inspire you. Take them in Photoshop. Don't just desaturate because that doesn't actually get you there. Create a new color, a new layer. Fill that layer with black, and in the layers mode, turn it to color. That gives you a more accurate viewing of that, what that looks like. That's what this is here. But you can see there's the original from a value, and they're just kind of messing with it. Yeah. You want your hero to be the focus and create depth. You want to create depth, a world, right? When you get that lighting done, bring it back, Dominic. We'll talk about hue and value and stuff. You can send some reference pics, maybe things that you're kind of interested in, and we'll kind of walk through and show you how you can pick from those and start to light and everything. But really focus on that value first, because without that, it's just a big blob of whatever, you know? There's no emotion to it whatsoever. It's just glows on glows and character details. This is one of the reasons why I told Brandon no more coloring things for him for a while, like
Right.
until I can, you know, help build that into you. And again, this lighting can go as far as you want it. That's what ends up making things look more realistic or more, you know, if you want it to look more 2D, it's cell shaded. If you want it to look really realistic, like you know, David Rapose's, you know, like paintings and stuff, it's more painterly, value based. I mean, it's all value based.
Right. You could either go too glowy or too saturated.
You
Right.
know, well, once it gets to the colors, but you really want to make certain that the rendering of it, you know, it's as 3D as you want it to be. That's what I'm trying to say. But right now we're using the values to create foreground, middle ground, background, key light source, secondary light source if possible. Don't worry about 3 or 4 more lighting sources. Just try to get on 1 and 2, one key light source and then a backlight, secondary, or world light. Something to, you know, give it some tying into the environment of some level. There could be a moon back here. I know you got a spaceship back here with some laser bolts. You already got enough of that. Maybe a moon, or back here could be like a planet they're behind that's creating some glows. And there could just be random laser bolts going on in the background. You know, if you want to keep that ship, then you would end up tying that ship into the color of the background. But it's hard to talk. Look, there's 2 things. There's value and there's hue. Value is black and white. Hue is color. It's very difficult to get into a discussion about hue while you're talking about the value of the piece. It's very difficult because the hue has not been established here. If we're just talking about from a value-based perspective, this is what I would do. If we're talking about a hue-based perspective, I'd say none of this works for me. This is not my kind of coloring on any level. But if you start with the value first, then we'll get into a discussion about hue moving forward, because we can start to talk about how to properly pick colors and how to set up stuff so that you achieve that animated look and it doesn't look like like a first year dodge and burn class. Like this isn't, if this were on a comic book shelf, would that pop out to you, Brandon?
This, yes.
Well, for the wrong reasons, right? Like this would pop out for you. This color, you like this?
No. The lighting scheme you did.
Right, I'm talking about this color right here. I know there's a little bit of delay on your end.
Oh, sorry. No.
Right. It's just limes with dark olives. Never put hot pink and dark olive green together on a picture. That's my personal advice to you. But I mean, it'd sound like me picking. I can't have a discussion on what to do until the lighting's sort of fixed. Does that make any sense?
Mm-hmm.
So go do that, Dominic, and get back to me, and we'll continue forward. Brennan, is there anything you'd like to add to this? You actually would like to add, or you don't have to just say.
No, like I said, I like the art. I know the color is off, but as far as who this artist is, I think he's got some talent, and I like what he made. I just think with a little bit of key lighting, it would be badass. So it's gonna be cool to see when they come back to you and say, hey, I changed it up. Now what do you think? So.
Yeah, I think from an illustration standpoint, the guy can draw. So that's helpful, right? I think also because he's probably more of an illustrator, coming from a guy who draws lines. I don't think about things from a value. I think about things from an outline, right? Because when I was a kid going to Comic-Con, they had very limited printing process. So it was all about hard edge blacks and whites. No halftones. Zero. Zilch. None. Don't even think about things in value. The old comics weren't colored like they are now. Now there's so many things you can do. It's like you have to think about them from a value perspective. It's like they're not naturally, like people aren't thinking about them from a value perspective. They tend to go and apply that like in digital painting. Like if you looked up YouTube videos, how to paint landscapes, you'll see this all the time. But if you say how to color a comic book cover, it's just fill it with flats. Here's the color of the character. Here's the background color, and it's like that actually isn't helping people. It's actually doing the opposite. And that's why you end up with a lot of entry-level colorists have things that just look lifeless and dead. They look very like the flats for color. Like when you hand me the flats, Brandon.
Yep.
That's what it looks like, right? This looks like the flats were colored.
Right.
So, yeah, that would be what I would do first. So get back to me, Dominic, and we will continue forward. Folks, leave your comments below if you have any questions. I will answer them. No problem. We will see you on the next SketchCraft Art Tips. Later, bye. Say bye, Brandon.
Bye.